Hey everyone, Ronan here and welcome back to the channel. Today I am really excited because I am finally getting to a requested video about ranking items in game. These could be items individually or items as a set, meaning they fit a certain theme like cold, any items that are basically going to revolve around doing cold damage and crossing frost, things like that, or items like the intro where I made my magic missiles hit substantially harder due to just combining a few items. There's going to be three categories here to help get away from bias. We're going to be talking about availability, meaning how early can you get the items and how easy are they to actually obtain. We're going to talk about effectiveness. Are they actually going to do what you want them to do? And Crossing Frost has a chance to freeze a target, but how good is it at actually freezing? And number three, how useful are the items? Just because it sounds really cool doesn't mean it actually is in practice. Categories are going to be 1 through 5, 5 being max, 1 being minimum. So the minimum score you can get is a 3, the max score you can get is a 15. That way you can help weigh the numbers and hopefully you can comment down below what you think as well. I'm not going to be ranking every item in game because it is quite a lot, but I am going to hit on a lot of things I really enjoy and some things I just don't think are all that great. That being said, if you do want to see a follow-up video, comment down below and I'll try to make one. And of course, if you want any builds of these items, definitely let me know. I already have some on the channel, but I'd be happy to make more. Going forward, we will talk about some legendaries, but not all. So if you want a separate legendary tier list, let me know. The two legendaries in this video will be Blood of Lathander and of course the legendary staff because of how unique that interacts with other spells and items in game. Speaking of legendary, did you know the hero, Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, is available in Raid Shadow Legends and they're giving him away for free? That's right, I'm excited to announce today's sponsor is Raid Shadow Legends. Immerse yourself in a free-to-play fantasy RPG with captivating storyline and online PvP. Explore a visually stunning fantasy realm featuring over 800 champions across 15 playable factions. Rally orcs, knights, elves, and a diverse array of fantasy creatures to overcome any challenge in your path. The game is available for Android, iOS, and PC. You can download and try for free using my link in the description or scan the QR code to receive some amazing in-game bonuses, including the epic and strong champion Lightsworn. But that's not all. Using my link, you can enter promo code Monkey King to receive Sun Wukong for free within the first 72 hours of registering. He's a hard hitter with his Staff of Wonder ignoring 50% of target's defenses. He can steal all buffs from enemies, block their buffs, and he can even self-revive. He's very powerful. You all know me, I really love Asian culture and mythology. I think it is really cool that the Chinese folk hero Sun Wukong the Monkey King is available to try out in Raid Shadow Legends. To redeem his promo code, tap on the top left hand side of your screen and then select the promo codes option. Once in the promo codes window, type in your promo code and hit confirm. You will receive confirmation if your entry was successful and you can then claim your reward in your inbox. Make sure to use promo code Monkey King. Don't miss out as he's only available for a short period of time. Download using my link in the description down below or scan the QR code and try out Raid Shadow Legends today. And thank you so much Raid for sponsoring today's video. Starting out first on our list, this is going to be the Drake Throat Glaive. This is a weapon you can get from Ro and Moonglow inside Moonrise Towers. This weapon is probably one of the most useful weapons you can obtain throughout your playthrough. I know what you're thinking. Looking at the tooltip, you might think it's only meant to be for Dragonborn, right? It has Vicious Dragon Breath, enemies have disadvantage on saving throws against your Dragonborn weapons, and it has a unique spell, Dragon Elemental Weapon, imbue a weapon of elemental power, receiving a +1 to attack rolls, and you deal additional 1d4 damage of your choice. Sounds really great in theory, but what if you could enhance it even better? The Dragon Elemental Weapon spell is essentially magic weapon from paladins, right? Well, unlike that spell, which is a concentration, this one can also be applied to any other weapon. For example, if you want a bow to have a specific weapon type to kind of enhance your gameplay to interact with other type of gear pieces, you can do that. You can see on the ground now, I have the dead shot here in Act 3. I'm going to actually put Frost on this weapon, giving it additional frost damage as well. So now I pick up that weapon. If I equip my bow, you can see the bow now has +1 additional weapon enchant, which is fantastic, so even more chance to hit, and it will deal additional cold damage, allowing this to interact with any other type of armor that deals with cold as well. What's even great though is the fact I don't need to keep this weapon in my main hand. I can unequip it and put something else on, and it won't matter because the enchant lasts until your next long rest. This weapon can really enhance your gameplay if you know how your armor pieces interact, and you can use the heat mechanic, noxious fumes, all kinds of different things, cold. Either way, even if you use it on its own just to make another weapon better, it is fantastic. Alright, the Drakethroat Glaive. When it comes to my scoring, availability, I'm giving this a 4 out of 5. If it was in Act 1, I'd give it a 5 out of 5. However, it does require you to go to Act 2 to get, but it is something you can get pretty early inside Act 2. Effectiveness, I am giving this a 5 out of 5. Although it may seem like you want to use this weapon as a melee weapon, which you certainly can, it's even better if you enhance other weapons, making it extremely powerful. And is it worth your time? 1000%, 5 out of 5. If I could give this a higher score, I would. This is an S tier item to get in game because of how much it can truly enhance your combat. So overall, your score is 14 out of 15, and this is by far one of my favorite items in game. While we are on the topic of unique weapons, let's talk about the Halberd of Vigilance, one of the best two-handers in the game. You can obtain this pretty much the same time you obtain the Drakethroat Glaive, so if you did want to enhance this halberd with the Drakethroat Glaive that we just talked about, you certainly can. This has a unique weapon type of being a halberd, meaning you have extra reach, so chances are if you couldn't reach it with a greatsword and it's just barely at a range, you will be able to hit it with the halberd. It has Sentinel weapon buff, giving you a +1 to your initiative rolls, which is great on its own, allowing your melee fighters to have a chance to go first in combat. But it also gives you advantage on perception ability checks, meaning it rolls 2 dice and will take the higher dice, so as long as you have this equipped, the chances are that character will be able to interact with things they see in their environment. Even better, when you make an attack roll as a reaction, meaning opportunity attacks, you make it with advantage, giving you a higher chance to hit and crit with those attacks. It also has a built-in weapon enchant of +2. All around a very solid weapon, and honestly, if you do enhance this with the Drakethroat Glaive, maybe a weapon you use throughout the rest of your entire playthrough. But on its own, availability, Halberd of Vigilance, I'm giving 4 out of 5. You get this pretty early in Act 2, giving its availability for most people something you can obtain throughout majority of your playthrough. Effectiveness, 5 out of 5. This thing hits hard, it does additional force damage, so that alone makes it a really hard hitter, and it has extra reach, so if you're using this to pretty much be that two-handed juggernaut to wipe your enemies down, here you go. But it also has the bonuses for advantage from perception checks and initiative, and advantage when you have opportunity attacks. 5 out of 5 for is it worth your time as well. One of the best two-handers in the game, and honestly, as soon as you get to Act 2, should be something you want to get for any two-handed fighter in your playthrough. Alright guys, for this next one, we are going to be talking about one of my personal favorite combinations, and this is something you can do really early in the game, and it's going to require 3 to 4 pieces depending on how deep you want to go into it. You have this necklace here that you can buy really early in Act 1 from Blurg inside the Mushroom Colony. This allows you to basically upgrade your magic missiles for free. Every time you upgrade magic missiles, if you upgrade it here, shoot an additional dart whenever you cast magic missiles, and it does that for every spell level. This necklace will automatically fire an additional dart regardless of what spell level you're at. So if you have a 6th rank spell, when you use magic missiles with this, you can do it 9 times. That's insane, because if you combine that with some other items you gain in Acts 1 and 2, you have a devastating damage and debuffer in 1 turn. Boots of Stormy Clamor that you also get from the Mushroom Colony following a quest will inflict 2 turns of reverberation whenever you inflict a condition on the enemy. very powerful. You have the Corsication Ring. When you deal spell damage, when the target's illuminated by a source, you inflict Radiating Orbs, which is a stacking debuff up to 7 that gives them -1 to their attack rolls. And the Callous Glow Ring, you deal 2 points of radiant damage to creatures that are illuminated. Because Magic Missiles hits multiple times, it's going to put the debuff on the enemy multiple times as well. And you can enhance this even more if you use the Legendary Staff in Act 3, but we'll talk about that separately. Let's start with these three first. So starting with these three first, without using any other type of additional things, let's go ahead and just cast a level 6 spell slot here so you can see the power of this. So for this combination, when it comes to availability, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. 2 of the pieces are found in Act 1, while the other 2 pieces are found inside Act 2. So you can get all this set up pretty early in your playthrough. When it comes to the effectiveness, I'm giving this a 5 out of 5. You want this to do a lot of damage, and you want this to be able to debuff the enemy. This is for sure a 5 out of 5, especially considering you can hit multiple people with magic missiles or stack it all up on one target for even more damage. And I'm also giving this a 5 out of 5 for usefulness. This is such a killer combo that it is unreal. It does exactly what you want. It will do damage, it will debuff, all around such a useful thing, and it does exactly what it should do. So my score for these 4 items combined together, you are getting 14 out of 15. A solid pick. This next clip showcases footage from my Hell Knight video, build link in description below. We're going to be talking about the heat mechanic here and why I think the heat mechanic, once you get to Act 3, is very powerful, but beforehand isn't as good as one might think. So what exactly is the heat mechanic? The heat mechanic revolves around heat convergence, allowing yourself to basically burn yourself to do additional damage +7 once per turn. It sounds really great in theory, except it does have some downsides, especially if you're a caster. The way this works is majority of the heat mechanic is going to come from the Thermo Arcanic gloves. Whenever you deal damage with fire, you gain 2 turns of heat. Although there are other ways to gain heat, such as weapons like the Hellfire Great Axe, which is a very powerful weapon, or the Thermodynamo Axe, which gives you heat whenever you do damage. And of course, you also have the Ring of Self-Immolation. The majority of people are probably going to have the heat mechanic ran into in Act 2 with the Thermo Arcanic gloves. These are really great and work for melee or for casters. It doesn't matter. Whenever you do fire damage, you gain 2 turns of heat. You can read here, I have 3 turns of heat, and every turn I take 1d4 fire damage, and I can convert those heats with heat convergence for the extra fire damage. Sounds great, except here's the downside. If you are not a tiefling, you take the full 1d4 fire damage. If you have a concentration spell that you are concentrating on, for example, I'm going to give myself haste. Now, right now, I don't have any armor or anything on to reduce the damage from heat or all incoming damage like most heavy armors do. A good example of this is in Act 3, the Helldusk armor is very powerful. You are resistant to fire damage and cannot be burned, and you take 3 less damage from all sources. The Helldusk armor pretty much makes it so you will never ever take damage from heat. Currently, I do have the Dark Fire Shortbow equipped to give myself fire resistance since I don't normally have it as a human. And I'm going to showcase why the heat mechanic here may not be as good as one thinks. Let's go ahead and try to get full stacks of heat here, and we're going to use Shadowheart as our dummy again. And you can see right there, every turn I'm taking damage. I just took 1 fire damage. And it does that every time, and I just had my concentration broken. And of course, I do have the Kalos Glow Ring on still because this thing is just really powerful. And of course, Acacian Ring as well to showcase my point. Because I took damage from heat, the ring itself makes me take damage as well because I'm illuminated, which is really unfortunate. And it broke my haste concentration. So for that alone, I think the heat mechanic isn't necessarily as strong as one might think. However, if you do have the setup, especially if you are a melee character and you use the Hellfire Great Axe in Act 3 in combination with any type of heavy armor, pretty much every good heavy armor in the game is going to have all incoming damage reduced by 2. If you have that and you have heat resistance at the same time, meaning you're a tiefling or you somehow have an item that gives you fire resistance, you will never take damage from the heat mechanic. Sounds really great for melee, and my Hell Knight Great Axe build with the Hellfire Great Axe is really powerful and extremely strong in Act 3. But until you get to that point where you can really utilize the extra damage, it's really not worth it in my opinion. It just feels so underwhelming compared to the other debuffs and mechanics in game. Example, Radiating Orbs, Reverberation. They are really strong, and the heat mechanics just falls short. Is it worth breaking your own concentration spells just for a little bit of damage? Maybe, but until you get to Act 3 or you have a character that can just take reduced damage, in my opinion, it's not worth at all. So availability, I'm giving this a 2 out of 5. Although you can gain the benefits early inside Act 2, the real showcase here is once you get to Act 3 and you do gain the Hellfire Great Axe, especially in combination with the Helldusk armor, but that comes so super late in game, so that's why 2 out of 5 for that. Effectiveness, I'm only giving a 3 out of 5. I would like to give this 5 out of 5 because the combination I did talk about just now with the Hellfire Great Axe and the Helldusk armor is very powerful. However, again, you have to get that far in the game and it's only slightly more damage. If it was something substantially harder, yeah, it would be way more effective. And when it comes to usefulness, is it worth your time? I am also going to give this a 2 out of 5. I find that it's just really not that great. The extra damage does do some great things later on in Act 3, but for a spellcaster, in my opinion, I just don't like it. Really not my cup of tea here. So your overall score is shown on screen. I wish this mechanic was better. Unfortunately, I just find it to be one of the weaker mechanics in game. Okay, it is time to talk about the legendary staff. This thing is one of the best legendaries in the game, and although it does come in Act 3, you can get it pretty much as soon as you get to Act 3 if you know what you're doing. This has Arcane Battery, allowing you to use the Arcane Battery ability instead of a spell slot, giving you a free 6th level spell. If you are a sorcerer, it also allows you to use your sorcerer points for free as well. But what makes this even better is the fact that it has Karaska's Favor. This is a really unique ability to your staff, which allows your staff to combine with other weapons or other armor to really enhance your gameplay. When you use this, you'll have a buff on yourself to allow your spells to do additional things. Sizzling Cataclysm allows you to gain resistance to acid damage. Your acid spells deal additional acid damage equal to your proficiency bonus, but it also allows your spells to actually do even additional things like giving noxious fumes to the enemy, which makes them take 1d4 acid damage in a radius. This is very powerful because this allows you to basically have on-demand acid damage whenever you want. You have Frost of Dark Winter. Sounds exactly like it should. You gain resistance to cold damage. Cold spells deal additional cold damage equal to your proficiency bonus. When you deal spell damage, you do 1 turn of frost upon the target, which is very powerful because those who don't know, frost, once you get the 7 stacks, makes the enemy have a chance to be frozen, allowing you to follow up for CC or additional force, bludgeoning, or thunder damage. Really powerful. You have Flame of Wrath. Pretty much the same as before. You gain resistance to fire damage. In addition, your fire spells deal additional bonus to your proficiency. You also have heat that stacks up whenever you do damage. Heat allows you to take fire damage and in exchange use heat conversions to do additional fire damage later on. You also have the Bolts of Doom you can choose. Just like the other ones, your lightning spells will deal additional damage to your proficiency bonus, and you gain resistance to lightning damage. This gives you the lightning orb mechanic, allowing you to have lightning orbs whenever you cast spells. You have Deadlier Than the Arsenic. This is a great way to poison your targets even without poison magic, because it will give all your spells a chance to poison the enemy. You gain resistance to poison damage, and if you do poison spells, you deal additional damage to your proficiency bonus. And the last one, Bone Shaking Thunder. Just like the others, you gain resistance to its mechanic, so this one being Thunder would be resistance to Thunder. You deal additional Thunder damage to your proficiency bonus, and you have a chance to deal Reverberation whenever you do a spell. Out of all of these, my personal favorites are going to be Bolts of Doom, because you can use this and dual wield it with other weapons if you really wanted for additional lightning orbs. I like Deadlier Than the Arsenic if you do want someone to poison the target. This is a great way to do it because targets that are poisoned have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. This is especially useful with magic missiles because it can hit multiple targets in one turn. I am also a big fan of Dark Winter. If you plan to play a cold build, dual wielding this staff with the Morning Frost and some of the other mechanics for cold just really makes your cold damage skyrocket. And getting frost built up on the enemy pretty quickly is also really nice. This also can be applied with magic missiles because of the weapon. Let's go ahead and take a look at how this would actually work in combat here then with Shadowheart. Assuming you have the same setup as before, you will now do even more damage or apply even more conditions to the enemy. So let's go ahead and go with Bolts of Doom for those who just kind of want additional damage at all times. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this. I'm going to use my Arcane Battery. I'm also going to use my Quicken spell. And now when I use my Magic Missiles, it's a bonus action. Upcast this to my 6th rank spell, so it hits 9 times. And you can see I did a ton of damage. Okay, so scoring for the Legendary Staff. Availability, I am giving this a 3 out of 5. The reason it's 3 and not lower is because this is one of the legendary weapons in Act 3 that you can get within the first 30 minutes to an hour of playing in Act 3. So its availability is a little bit better than you might think, so 3 out of 5. Effectiveness. This does exactly what I want. It adds additional damage to a certain type of element, which is really fantastic, especially if you are going for a really unique spell type like cold, for example, to really stack up that cold damage. So for effectiveness, it does exactly what I want. Bonus damage on top of giving me additional debuffs. This is 5 out of 5. And usefulness, is it worth your effort? This is 100% worth your effort. This will enhance any spellcaster by a large margin. If you're already going to have a really unique build, whether you want to be a debuffer, damage dealer, or a mix in between, giving this staff to any spellcaster is going to enhance your gameplay to a next level, giving it 5 out of 5, giving your total score here 13 out of 15. Up next is my first perfect 15 out of 15 score. This is going to utilize a couple of items to increase range damage for any character regardless of race or class. Starting out with the Gloves of Archery, this gives you proficiency with longbows and shortbows. In addition, your ranged attacks deal additional 2 damage. So already these gloves are very solid just to up your damage by 2. And if you happen to play a class that doesn't have the proficiencies with longbows or shortbows, it's a great way to gain that as well. However, you can combo that with a few other items to really amplify your damage. You have the Club of Hill Giant Strength, increasing your strength to 19 base. I know what you're thinking, ranged weapons don't use strength, right? Well, there is a specific item you can get in Act 1 called the Titan String Bow. Whenever you deal damage, you add additional damage equal to your strength modifier. Because you utilize the Club of Hill Giant Strength, your strength modifier is going to be +4 at all times since it increases your strength to 19 base. This weapon will do additional +4 damage from the Club of Hill Giant Strength because of your strength modifier, another +2 damage because of the Gloves of Archery, and will deal additional damage equal to your Dex modifier as well. Take into all account, if you happen to have Sharpshooter, it's another +10 damage on top of that. This combo is fantastic, and if you happen to play a rogue, you could also add the Speedy Light Feet into it to gain lightning charges whenever you dash, giving you even more additional damage. Let's go ahead and get in combat now so I can showcase the damage of this weapon. So I'm going to go ahead, and right now I don't have Sharpshooter because my character is too low of a level to gain it yet, but once you get Sharpshooter, just add another +10 damage. Alright, so I want to showcase the damage of this real quick. I had 18 piercing damage just from one shot. You can read the damage here is 1d8 plus your Dex modifier, +2 from gloves, plus the strength modifier as well from the bow and Club of Hill Giant Strength. And then necrotic damage is from symbiotic entity since I am part Spore Druid as well. So let's go ahead and add a little bit more damage by dashing. So I can dash right here, and you can see I now have 3 lightning charges, which also give me +1 to my attack rolls as well, which is really nice. But once I do get the 5 stacks, I will then gain a really powerful 1d8 lightning burst as well. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about items for Radiant Orb stacking, especially if you want to have great damage, utility all in one. And this is going to showcase majority of items that are found within Acts 1 and 2. Starting out with the legendary weapon Blood of Lathander. This weapon here is just one of the best legendaries in the game. You have Lathander's Light. Basically, you have light around you, which is absolutely insane. In combat, fiends and undead are blinded if they're in the light. Really, really great. It has built-in weapon enchant +3 and a powerful level 6 spell, Sunbeam, you can use once per long rest. This weapon alone is out of this world powerful. Take into account also once per long rest, it has a built-in self-revive mechanic. If you are reduced to 0 HP, you instead gain 2 to 12 hit points, and allies within 30 feet also gain 1d6 hit points as well. One of the best support weapons in the game, but because it is a legendary, you get the +3 weapon enchant as well, so this can be very powerful even if you want to add a little bit of extra damage. You have the luminous armor. Whenever you deal radiant damage, you cause a radiant shockwave in front of you. This is really nice with paladins, for example, or war clerics, since you will have some up close and personal combat. Divine smite spam, really great. Luminous gloves. Whenever you deal radiant damage, you do 1 turn of radiating orbs on the enemy. This will stack with the chest piece as well. And of course, we already talked about these rings earlier, but the Kalos Glow ring and the Corsication ring as well, that combination with the armor that we just talked about adds even more damage and debuffs to the enemy. You could use the Holy Lance helm as well, because you're going to have so many debuffs on the enemy. Chances are they're going to miss their attacks against you, and when they do, they have to make a Dex saving throw or take 1d4 radiant damage. This will also proc Radiant Orbs. If you prefer to be more of a paladin type, you could also use the Helmet of Smiting, which is also found in Act 1. Whenever you apply a condition with your smite spells, you gain temporary hit points equal to your charisma modifier. So pretty dang good if you do have high charisma and you do plan to go like pure paladin, for example. And for this example, I am on my war cleric / paladin combo, just to showcase how strong this stuff can be. So I open up with my Sunbeam here, and it's going to do a lot of damage. Alright, so you can see I already have 6 radiating orbs on this one target just from using my moonbeam on him, doing some incredible damage. This guy was standing in range of my spirit guardians, already has 7 radiating orbs, which is the max, giving him a -7 to his attack rolls. Super strong. Very, very powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and simply attack him base and just use a follow-up with my spell slots here for Divine Smite, for example. So we'll go ahead and attack him. And we'll use Divine Smite rank 3, and he's gone. I am on Tactician, by the way. And unfortunately, the Radiating Orbs is supposed to stack at 7. It is currently glitched to go above 7. Be careful with stacking it too high. I did hear that if you get it too high of a stack, it can end up crashing your game. So that is one downside. Overall, though, I'm going to give the score for availability 4 out of 5. Majority of these items are in Act 1, though some of them are found inside Act 2. When it comes to effectiveness, this is getting a 5 out of 5. It does exactly what you want. You will be debuffing the enemies while also giving yourself bonus damage, and you have great ways to support your allies as well. When it comes to usefulness, definitely 5 out of 5. It does exactly what it should do. Make the enemies have harder chances to hit you. It makes you hit hard, and you have great ways to keep undead at bay. Just a really fantastic combination overall. Works great for any type of Radiant user, whether it's a Paladin, a Cleric, or simply anyone that just has ways to do Radiant damage. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Ronan. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Don't forget to download Raid Shadow Legends with my link in the description down below, or using the QR code today. And thank you so much for Raid for sponsoring today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.